Well, right now, people in Killingly are waiting to see what town leaders do after they spoke out about a proposed Amazon warehouse.
Neighbors packed a town council meeting warning about property values and noise from a potentially busy facility. Your reporter Taylor Knight is live in Killingly with what comes next. And Taylor, this meeting wrapped up pretty late.
Yeah, that meeting went late into the night last night. One of the things that was discussed is that residents say that they want a direct say on whether or not this warehouse comes to Killingly. They want to do that through a ballot question in November. Residents shared their concerns at the town council meeting last night, citing traffic from tractor trailers, possible impacts to the water supply, and whether the town would see enough long-term benefit as some of the reasons why they do not want to see this Amazon warehouse built. Amazon claims that it would be a 24/7 sorting and shipping center with at least 500 full-time jobs, starting at $23 an hour, with millions in new tax revenue for Killingly. Several residents spoke in favor of a moratorium, saying the town needs more time to review zoning rules before any more large-scale industrial projects can move forward. Others asked the council to support a non-binding ballot question, arguing it would give planning and zoning a clearer picture of where residents stand.
What I'm asking for you tonight is simple. Come to the table with us and learn what we know, and let's protect our town together.
Two town commissions face a July deadline in connection to this warehouse. Also, the town's Planning and Zoning Commission will be discussing this warehouse during their next meeting on Monday. Your reporter live in Killingly, Taylor Knight, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.